Can we have confirmation that Councillor Hergert is here as well? She was on screen and I don't see her now. We do have quorum, but.
Good morning, Mayor Robinson. We are good to go. However, it does appear as though we've lost Councillor Hergert from the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much for telling me that. All right, so we will begin. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the West Grey Council meeting for February 1st, 2022. I'm calling the meeting to order under item number 1. I can say that all members of council are present with exception to Councillor Hergert. When she arrives, we will make that known. We do have a quorum. Corporate and Community Initiatives Officer, Cody Hewlett, could you please explain the electronic features for today's meeting?
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. Before I begin, if at any point you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter the meeting ID for this meeting, which is 891-5626-2480. Both members of council and staff have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software and will be raising their hands physically on camera to speak. It should be noted that this meeting is being held in 2 locations, both being live streamed on YouTube as well as being held on the Zoom meeting platform. It should be noted for members of the public that any public participation must be done through the Zoom meeting platform and cannot be done through YouTube at this time. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance throughout the duration of the meeting, you can send a chat message to myself, Cody Hewlett, Corporate and Community Initiatives Officer on Zoom, and I will attempt to assist you. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much for that. I just want to determine, Councillor Hergert, are you here? I see your audio and all right, thank you, thumbs up. We're moving on now to item number 2, moment of reflection. Members of council and citizens, those listening in, if you care to do so, please take a quiet pause at this time. Thank you. Item number 3, declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Members of council, is there anything to declare at this time? Okay, we are now going to move on to item number 4, delegations presentations. In accordance with the West Grey procedural bylaw, each delegation shall be limited in speaking to not more than 10 minutes, and presentations that are requested by council shall have a time limit as determined between the clerk and the presenter. We do have a delegation at this time, 4.1, delegation, Anne Hagedorn, Durham and District Horticultural Society, recognition of Year of the Garden. Good morning, Anne Hagedorn. Welcome and welcome to the Durham and District Horticultural Society members listening in. You now have the opportunity to present, to give your delegation. Please go ahead. Now I do see Anne Hagedorn is here. Supervisor Hewlett, could you please assist if Anne Hagedorn requires it?
There we go.
Wonderful. Good morning, Anne. Welcome. We've been anticipating your delegation. Please go ahead.
Good morning. May we start with the first slide? That's perfect. Thank you. Good morning, Mayor Robinson and members of council. I am here this morning on behalf of the Durham and District Horticultural Society and indirectly the Canadian Garden Council. This presentation is a follow-up to the letter which you received from me prior to the last council meeting and prepared as suggested by Councillor Doug Hutchinson. 2022 has been designated the Year of the Garden by the Canadian Garden Council and the federal government, in recognition of the 100-year anniversary of the Canadian Nursery Landscape Association and Canada's ornamental horticulture sector. May we please have the fourth slide? That's good there. I just wanted the website to be posted. The Garden Council of Canada has an extensive website and recommended activity list for the various community groups, suggestions for this year-long celebration. The Durham and District Horticultural Society would like to ask West Grey to join the to date 32 other municipalities across Canada proclaiming 2022 Year of the Garden. As mentioned in the letter, the DDHS would cooperate with West Grey to make this happen. May we please have the second slide, which is the document. It's a proclamation letter. We can find it later. If West Grey is interested, Mayor Robinson would sign and submit the proclamation letter on the slide. West Grey will then be included on a nationwide list of municipalities committed to this celebration. The DDHS has purchased the Year of the Garden flag, which we hope can be flown during the month of June on an approved flagpole in West Grey. June 11th to the 19th is Garden Week, which conveniently coincides with the Durham and District Horticultural Society 53rd Annual Herb Fair on June 11th. We would also propose hosting an event on National Garden Day, June 18th at the community gardens. If possible, we would create a link on the West Grey website featuring helpful garden tips and water conservation strategies for homeowners in our community, advice, local garden events, and information. We would also like to have a community-wide nomination for a germinating or young gardener and a mature or experienced garden hero. Nominations open to the public. Throughout the year, other opportunities for garden engagement will inevitably arise. Thank you for your time and consideration of this collaboration. If the idea moves forward, the Durham and District Horticultural Society will of course support West Grey with any actions that need to take place.
Well, thank you very much, Anne Hagedorn, for your delegation. And it's so wonderful that we're talking about a spring and summer initiative when we're in the cool of winter. So it's nice to plan that. And as we plant little seeds now to start germinating for our gardens, I think this is just poetic, if you will. So it's wonderful that you're here. I'm wondering if members of council have any questions of clarity for the delegation. Councillor Hergert. Councillor Hergert? Yep.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I am having some technical difficulties this morning, just for your information, Mayor Robinson.
Okay.
In the proclamation, this is a question of clarity. There is a location for 2 items that are currently going on in West Grey that are supporting initiatives of gardening. And I was curious if council would entertain the proclamation, if we could include the bee pollinator gardens and the community gardens that West Grey currently has and works with various groups throughout West Grey. If those 2 items could be included in the proclamation. As well, I was curious if this idea would spread throughout West Grey. I know there's been members of the public from Ayton and further that have requested some interest in this and the idea of sharing gardens throughout all of West Grey that are community gardens. So just those 2 questions to our delegate, please.
Absolutely. Any reference to garden activities that are occurring currently could be put on the proclamation. That's wonderful. And of course, yes, it's kind of, as you can see, it's sort of an idea that's hatching and growing as we talk about it every day. There's new ideas. So absolutely, we would be happy to chat with the other 2 garden societies in Neustadt and Ayton and collaborate and join forces and share ideas. Absolutely, it wouldn't just be strictly to Durham.
Thank you. Councillor Hutchinson, please.
Yeah, thanks, Anne, for your presentation. Sorry, put my video back on here. Thanks for your presentation. Good to see you this morning. I'm just wondering, as far as the council part of it, we can do the proclamation and the flag thing, but I'm wondering if it might be worthwhile, Anne, if you'd be available to come to speak to our Parks and Green Spaces Committee on February 17th. We meet then. We did talk briefly about you and your presentation, but I didn't have a lot of information to give to the committee last meeting. So it might be a good place to come because they're the group that sort of does the nuts and bolts and we're organizing what we can do in terms of flowers and so on going forward this year. So I think that would be a good place for you to come and share and hopefully we can work together and maybe make a plan of what you'd like to do. But I don't know whether we can do the proclamation ahead of that time or whether we have to wait, but I think as far as proclaiming and doing the flag thing, we could probably get that done sooner rather than later. So would you be open to doing that, Anne, meeting in February 17th?
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to attend. I just wonder at what time the meeting is that day. It's my daughter's 19th birthday.
Oh, it's an evening meeting, it'll be 7 o'clock.
Okay, we can talk about it. How about I'll figure out,
Yeah.
We haven't got a schedule of birthday events yet, so.
Right. And I mean, if we didn't do that one, it would be March, but then that's getting on a bit then. So
It is, yes.
anyways, we'll talk. You don't have to make it, but just it's a possibility. So.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Sharbach, in terms of if council is interested in the proclamation, is this like procedurally be brought back to the next meeting? So that there's time for staff to write it and connect with Anne Hagedorn and anyone else that is required through the Durham District Horticultural Society to put a very thoughtful proclamation forward at an upcoming meeting, probably the next one, and whether it's identifying those two community initiatives or if there happens to be more that it speaks to the relevance of the proclamation, and also I'm also so that's question number one, Clerk Sharbach. Question number two is the flag raising. Do we have other events in June that we can coordinate the June 11th to the 18th for the Durham District Horticultural Society? If there is a need to bring that back at the next meeting, that's fine, but your response now, if you don't mind.
Through you, Mayor, it would be appropriate to bring the proclamation back to a next meeting. And I'm wondering, Councillor Herbert did mention two other gardens, the bee pollinator garden and was it the community garden, Councillor Herbert? Okay, that would give us an opportunity to include that in there. It could come back as even a notice of motion with those two items included.
Okay.
And we can add that to the next agenda to formalize that. The flag, traditionally we have had a pride flag raised for 2 weeks out of June. So it's council's prerogative to do that as well. I wonder if that would also be very appropriate to have a notice of motion regarding perhaps both flags on the next meeting as well. And I don't know what 2 weeks of June. I don't think it's been specified. I would defer to our CAO to see if she's heard anything or if it's always the first two or last two.
Madam CAO.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson, and good morning, everybody. My memory from last year, it was the end of June. So we started it the last 2 weeks of June, but I don't know that that's set in stone. I'm just getting a message from our Mr. Hewlett that it's typically whenever council would like, but we have committed to 2 weeks in June. So there's probably an opportunity to accommodate both.
Thank you. So members of council, we're hearing perhaps two notices of motion on the next council meeting, and also to deal with flag proclamations as well as the Year of the Garden proclamation. So thank you for that. We do have a couple more questions, starting with Councillor Hutchinson, or items of clarification.
Yeah, yeah, just looking at the dates, the timing sort of isn't ideal, whatnot. It would have been, I think it would have been nice for Anne to come to our Parks and Green Spaces Committee before we made the proclamation, but because our next council meeting after February 15th isn't until the middle of March, that seems to be a long ways away. So I guess what I'm going to suggest, Anne, is that maybe some representatives from our Parks and Green Spaces Committee may reach out to you and maybe hash out any details that might be important for that committee, because they, like I say, they are the ones that are sort of organizing some of the gardens and whatnot. So I think it's important to have some input rather than going ahead and do the proclamation and then turn around, come back to us and say, oh, by the way, we're doing this, which means it can, sort of ties their hands. So yeah, so let's leave it that. We'll aim for the 15th for the proclamation, but the Parks and Green Spaces Committee may reach out to you and discuss the proclamation with you, if that's okay.
Absolutely. You can share my email if that's the easiest way to start the conversation.
Yeah, I think I have it. So we'll get in touch with you.
Okay, super.
Good. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Shea.
Thanks, Mayor Robinson, and thanks, Anne, for coming. I just wanted to voice my support for this initiative and salute you and the committee for doing this work and bettering our community and just taking the initiative. As a regular user of one of the community gardens, I'd happily step up to help out in this in any way that I can. And I did just want to remind everyone that Durham Homecoming is at the July 1st weekend. So there might be some flag raising and certainly some flower planting and gardening being undertaken through that initiative as well. So hopefully those things can be coordinated. Thank you.
Anything further, members of council? Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. Good morning, and thanks for coming to council today. And I'm too very supportive of all the initiatives you brought forward. And I just wanted to check in with staff regarding some of the other initiatives like a learning day at the gardens and lawn and garden conservation link, Garden Hero, those kinds of ideas. What would be a good next step for that? Would staff recommend we send this correspondence to the Gardens and Green Spaces Committee, or that we send this correspondence to staff to coordinate further, or what kind of, is there any kind of direction staff would need at this time to help move those initiatives forward as well? Thank you.
Madam CAO, please.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Yes, I'm good. I think, well, once the motion is passed at the next council meeting, I mean, that gives us some time to put some thought to some of those ideas that have been proposed today. I would like to be able to have staff work with the Horticultural Society, because I suspect that they may want to take the lead on some of these initiatives. Mr. Hewlett has given it some thought. We could go over to him if you like, Madam Mayor, right now, and he can supplement my initial thoughts.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Over to you, Corporate and Community Initiatives Officer Cody Hewlett. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And through you, in anticipating this delegation coming forward, there are a number of other community groups that are interested in getting projects going and that sort of thing over the summer, with particular interest in the community garden. So later this week, I have a meeting planned with a number of community agencies, as well as I have looped Ms. Hagedorn into that, so that we can all coordinate and hopefully have a cohesive projects coming together.
Thank you. Anything further?
No, that's really wonderful. Thank you. So I understand the next steps for council would be to members of council bring a couple different notices of motion forward, and we've got lots of things happening in the background. Wonderful. Thanks, everybody.
Any other questions of clarity? Seeing none. Anne Hagedorn, thank you for coming here and being a delegation. It certainly was an uplifting and most positive delegation, and we certainly look forward to spring and the initiatives that are certainly able to bloom out of this initiative. Thank you so much. Please come again and take care.
Thank you.
All right, members of council, we are now moving on to item number 5. That is public meetings. For this particular agenda, that is an NA. Item 6 now, comment period. In accordance with the West Grey procedural bylaw, comments may be made to council with respect to a specific agenda item. A maximum of 2 minutes per person is allotted for comments, with a maximum of 10 minutes in total for the comment period. So, Corporate and Community Initiatives Officer Cody Hewlett, could you please assist with the comment period?
Absolutely, and through you, Mayor Robinson. As noted previously in the meeting, public participation must be done through the Zoom meeting platform and cannot be done through YouTube at this time. For members of the public who have dialed in over the phone participating in this meeting, you can press *9 on your phone and that will let us know that you would like to speak. Alternatively, if your hand has been raised in error, you can press *9 again to lower your hand. The second option for members of the public who have joined us using the Zoom meeting platform, you can either send a chat message to myself, Cody Hewlett, Corporate and Community Initiatives Officer, either stating that you would like to speak or what you would like read on your behalf into the record, or you can raise your hand, typically located in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, usually by either a blue or yellow hand icon, depending on your device. Just taking a quick review of the dashboard, Mayor Robinson, I am not seeing any members of the public wishing to speak at this time.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then to item number 7, unfinished business. For this particular agenda, it is an NA. Item 8, adoption of minutes. Beginning with 8.1 rather, January 17, 2022 public meeting. Members of council, are there any questions with respect to these minutes? Councillor Hergert.
Yes, I was curious, page 47 talks about a West Grey strategic plan related to the Sauget Municipal Airport. I'm curious when council would be receiving their strategic plan, business plan.
Deputy Mayor, you are the council rep. Is there any response?
Actually, we have a meeting tomorrow to, again, rough draft, as stated in the last time this question came up. So we have a meeting tomorrow, and then we are doing some work because there's some changes in the provincial not-for-profit. So we are waiting for those updates so that can all come out, roll out together. We have a meeting tomorrow to hopefully finalize the rough draft, and then from there we'll wait for the commission to see which way they're going to go with it. So I think they were talking sometime in March, but I can't say that for certain. Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Hergert?
Just those minutes related to a municipal agreement coming our way, a procedural bylaw coming our way, and the strategic business plan coming our way. So March is the deadline. Today's February 1st. So wonderful. I'll look forward to seeing those. Thank you.
Any other member of council? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. Just a follow-up, that is our plan. That is not etched in stone because, again, I just want to emphasize that there's some new legislation that is out with the province for not-for-profit, and we don't have all that information yet, and I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of information that we're going to have to overlay into the work that's being done. So until we have all those details, I'm not going to commit to March. That is our plan, and that's what we're working towards. Thank you.
Any other member of council have a question of clarity for the January 17, 2022 minutes? Seeing none, moving over to 8.2, January 18, 2022 council meeting minutes. Any questions? Clerk Sharback to the recommendation, please.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. The recommendation is that the minutes of the public meeting of January 17th, 2022 and the council meeting of January 18th, 2022 are hereby approved as circulated.
Is there a mover for this motion? Deputy Mayor, and a seconder, Councillor Hamilton. Questions to the motion? All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. This motion is carried. Item 9, committee and board reports. 9.1, Economic Development Advisory Committee, January 10, 2022 minutes. Any questions on these minutes, members of council? Clerk Sharback, there is an attached, if you will, an associated recommendation. Could you please read that?
Through you, the recommendation that is that council approves the recommendation of the Economic Development Advisory Committee to amend the appointment bylaw by removing members R. Sisolak and J. Gingrich.
Is there a mover for this motion? Deputy Mayor and seconder, Councillor Townsend. Any questions on the motion at hand? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. This motion is carried. We're now moving on to the balance of the minutes for committee and board reports. 9.2, Saugeen Municipal Airport Commission, December 15, 2021 minutes. Any questions? 9.3, Saugeen Municipal Airport Commission, December 22nd, 2021 minutes, meeting minutes. Any questions? 9.4, Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, December 16, 2021 meeting minutes. Any questions? 9.5, West Grey Public Library Board, October 13, 2021 meeting minutes. Any questions? 9.6, West Grey Public Library Board, October 26, 2021 meeting minutes. Any questions? 9.7, West Grey Public Library Board, November 10, 2021 meeting minutes. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. Just a general question. Just wondering why we're getting batches of the minutes and why they aren't coming in after the meetings are completed. So it's just so I have a clear understanding. It seems to be a little bit of a delay, but thank you.
I will go to Clerk Sharbuck, and then I'll go to the representatives on the library board. Clerk Sharbuck.
Through Mayor Robinson, this is when minutes from boards and committees are received, they're added to the next possible agenda, depending on our agenda schedule.
Okay, so there's 2 members on the library board, Councillor Townsend, Councillor Hamilton. Do either of you have anything to add at this time? If you do, raise your hand. If not, that's fine. Councillor Hamilton.
Thanks for the question, and I'll just share that feedback with the board. Otherwise, I don't have any. I don't know why they would come as a batch, but certainly we are regularly approving our minutes, and it's my expectation that they'd be circulated shortly after. So I'll share that. Thank you.
Any other questions with regard to the West Grey Public Library Board, November 10, 2021 meeting minutes? 9.8, West Grey Public Library Board, December 8, 2021 meeting minutes. Any questions? 9.9, West Grey Public Library Board, December 22nd, 2021 meeting minutes. Any questions? Clerk Sharbuck, to the recommendation at hand, please.
Through Mayor, the recommendation is that the minutes of committees and boards are hereby received.
Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Townsend, as seconder, Councillor Hamilton. Questions on the motion? All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of the motion. The motion is carried. Item 10, correspondence. 10.1, items requiring action. 10.1.1, Douglas Anderson, request to purchase municipal lands. Clerk Sharbuck, to the recommendation, please.
Through Mayor Robinson, the recommendation is that council directs that a report be brought back to a future council meeting regarding the sale of municipal lands as requested by Doug Anderson.
I'll look for a mover and seconder, and then I'll note that Councillor Hutchinson will be the first one to speak to this. Councillor Hergert moving the motion. Is there a seconder for this motion? Deputy Mayor. Okay. Councillor Hutchinson, question or comment with regard to the motion?
Yeah, I see that the recommendation is to go back to staff to take a look at this. I have a concern. I'm not sure why we would sell this piece of land. This is a dead-end street up in top of the hill, not too far from our place. It's a dead-end road that goes north to south. And as you see in the diagram, there's a little chunk there that goes from the street down to this piece of property, which is just on the edge of the Conservation Authority. I'm not sure why we would sell it off as an unopened road allowance when usually what we do is we just have them bring that section of road up to our standards and it would connect their property. The other issue there is there's two houses on each side of that property, and right from the one driveway, as you can see in the picture, the driveway south on the west side, there's a fire hydrant down in there. So by selling it off, then how do we access the fire hydrant if we sell it off to private property? So it doesn't make sense to me that we would sell it off. I would say that we just extend it, get them to bring it, up to their standards, extend it to their property line, and we go from there. So I definitely like to see staff look at that and make a recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Scharbeck or Planner Spencer, whichever one is appropriate. Clerk Scharbeck, would this, just the concerns raised by Councillor Hutchinson, be folded into an upcoming report, or could you provide more information at this time?
For sure, and Planner Spencer can certainly add in anything I've missed, but generally when there's a request to purchase property, staff look at all the factors involved in that particular property and write the report on a case-by-case basis. So I'm sure those factors will be considered as well.
Thank you. Anything to add, Planner Spencer?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. There has been staff discussions with respect to this particular property, and that will be more so provided as part of the report with respect to whether or not it's a non-service agreement and they upgrade the road to their own standard, etc. But those concerns that you've identified, Councillor, will certainly be taken into consideration and addressed as part of the report.
Anything further, Councillor Hutchinson?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, members of council? Okay. Does anybody need the motion read again? All those in favor indicate with a raised hand then. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. This motion has carried. 10.1.2, Durham Homecoming 2022, request for declaration of an event of a municipal significance. So at this point, council would have to make a determination on how they're dealing with it. How does council wish to deal with this request? Councillor Townsend?
Sorry, I would make a motion that we have staff prepare the necessary paperwork to make that happen.
So you're asking that the request for the Homecoming 2022 to be cleared as a municipal significant event. Is that correct? Or what?
That's correct.
As per the request?
Yes.
Okay. Clerk Scharbeck, to the motion, please.
Through you, Mayor Robinson, just to clarify, the paperwork for any liquor licenses or anything that council's declaration would be needed for would be carried out by the Homecoming Committee, but they're asking for that resolution. And I'm wondering, Councillor Townsend, if we can do it all right now. If the motion is that council hereby directs that the Durham Homecoming 2022 is hereby declared to be an event of municipal significance. Would that work to do it right now?
That would be perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
So with that, you've heard the motion at hand. Is there a seconder? Councillor Hergert? I'm sorry, that is a seconder? I just need clarification. I'm not certain of your actions there.
Yes, I will second that motion.
Thank you. Questions on the motion, please, beginning with Councillor Hutchinson and then Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, so this brings back this whole discussion that we had on this earlier. I'm not sure if it was in this council or previous council, but this whole idea of making this designating as an event of municipal significance we discussed about why was that really important, and obviously because it's still on the liquor license that they want that, and because there seems to be the insurance companies seem to be giving a bit of a break if you have it designated. But I really question why all this is even necessary to go through the municipality to do something like this. I guess the problem is that it's on the liquor license thing, which, does it really need to be there? And then the other is, does it really make any difference when it comes down to insurance rates? So we had this discussion before about, to me, this seems to be more paperwork, another step in something that really probably doesn't need to be there, but it's one of those red tape issues, I guess. But until the insurance and the government changes their directive, then I guess we just follow along. So it's unfortunate, I think, anyways, but I'm in support of it, no problem for the event, but it just seems like another extra step. Thanks.
Thank you. Corporate and Community Initiatives Officer Cody Hewlett, is there any additional information you could provide with regard to that?
Thank you, through you, Mayor Robinson. Not too much additional information to provide. Essentially, what providing municipal significance does to an event, as it proves to the AGCO that we recognize it as an event that's happening in our community, and it helps to clean up a few of the ties with the event, just essentially stating that council recognizes it as happening, and it assists in the licensing for an SOP for the event.
Any further questions? Clerk Sherbuck, could you please, pardon me, Councillor Hamilton, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson, and thank you for that clarity. It has been a while since we've had a big event planned. Like, this is really exciting through this COVID world that we've come through. I guess my question to staff would be, are there any drawbacks? Is there any increased liability, or what does it, are you assuming more risk? What's the impact of declaring a municipally significant event for our corporation? Thank you.
Corporate and Community Initiatives Officer, please.
Thank you. I would defer to Clerk Sherbuck on this matter.
Certainly. Clerk Sherbuck, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Thank you for that question, Councillor Hamilton. Declaring the event of municipal significance does not add to our liability. It doesn't bring anything onto the shoulders of the municipality, and it does not impact our insurance in any way. There's no further risk to the municipality. It's still the Homecoming Committee's event, not ours, but we're recognizing that this event is a big deal in our community. That's what the Alcohol and Gaming Commission is looking for on that licensing.
Oh, that makes me feel so much better. Thank you. So yes, let's move forward. Thanks for that information.
Any other questions from members of council? All right, Clerk Sherbuck, would you please read the recommendation at hand, or the motion?
Dear Mayor, moved by Councillor Townsend and seconded by Councillor Hergert, that Council, West Grey Council hereby directs that the Durham Homecoming 2022 is hereby declared to be an event of municipal significance.
All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. The motion is carried. Item 10.2, items for information. 10.2.1, Chair Doug Raycraft, Community Schools Alliance, Social and Economic Impact of Schools for Small Communities in Ontario. Clerk Sherbuck to the recommendation.
Through Mayor, the recommendation is that council hereby receives all correspondence items not otherwise dealt with.
Is there a mover for this motion? Deputy Mayor, is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Townsend. Any questions to the motion? Councillor Townsend.
Thank you. As you may recall, I am actually on the Community Schools Alliance executive, and this study was commissioned to try to get a better handle on current data as it relates to the relationship between having schools and not having schools in smaller communities, primarily under 10,000 people and between 10,000 and 20,000. And the study really did say there was a significant impact on economic development and growth and how you attract businesses, et cetera. So that has been shared with the Ministry of Education. Also at Roma last week, we did a delegation to the Ministry of Education. The PA was there, and he was quite excited by one of our recommendations, which was actually to coordinate the growth planning between the school boards and the municipalities, which currently is not done. They're done separately, and they go to the ministry from the Board of Education, and the ministry doesn't really see the municipality plan. So that's a follow-up item that will happen in a follow-up meeting with the ministry, and we'll see where that goes. So hopefully we'll see some good things, and I'd encourage you to read it and just see what the impact is of having schools and not having schools at the right level, the right place. Thank you.
Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate with the raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of the motion. The motion is carried. Item 11, staff reports. Item 11.1, Director of Development, CBO. 11.1.1, 2021 Q4 building activities. Clerk Sharbeck to the recommendation, please.
Through you, Mayor Robinson, the recommendation is that CBO report 2021 Q4 building department activity be received for information.
Is there a mover for this motion? Deputy Mayor, is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Hutchinson. Questions on the motion? All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. Seven members of council have voted in favor. The motion is carried. 11.2, Director of Administration Clerk. 11.2.1, Update use of corporate resources during an election policy. Clerk Sharbeck to the recommendation.
Through Mayor Robinson, the recommendation is that council receive the report, update the use of corporate resources during an election policy for information.
Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Hamilton. Is there a seconder? Councillor Townsend. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate with a raised hand. Councillor Hergert, are you available for this motion? Councillor Hergert, are you available for this motion? All those in favor of the motion, did you hear the motion? Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the motion indicate with a raised hand. I want to make sure everybody is available that needs to vote. And Councillor Hutchinson, all those in favor of the motion, if you are in favor, raise your hand. If not, I will ask for those not in favor. However, in this case, 7 members of council have voted in favor. The motion is carried. Sorry, I just want to make sure when audio's off, but certainly, but video's off. Thank you. All right, we're going on to 11.3 now. And this is the Director of Finance and Treasurer, 11.3.1, 2022 Capital Budget Approval Police Vehicle. Clerk Sharbeck to the recommendation.
Through Mayor, the recommendation is that council approves the 2022 capital budget for the municipality of West Grey to a maximum of 50% of the 2021 budget to permit tendering for a police vehicle.
Is there a mover for this motion? Deputy Mayor, is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Hutchinson. Questions to the motion? Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To the Director of Finance, I'm wondering, it says the funding will actually come from the tax levy, so it's not a capital expense, is that correct? And
Director Martin.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. It is a capital expense. The tax levy supports both operating and capital.
Okay, so the amount that goes through the levy is just the depreciation over time, and so it's still a capital expense?
No, through you, Madam Mayor. The full capital expense will be charged to the tax levy in any given year once we purchase it.
Okay, and why does that happen for such a large item in as a vehicle that I'm assuming will last more than a week or a year, or whatever? So I'm just wondering why it's expensed and not depreciated.
So under the public sector accounting standards rules, how municipal accounting is, it's different than the private sector. So we do expense the full amount of any capital item, whether it's $1 million bridge or a $50,000 vehicle. It is all expensed in the year. We do have amortization expense that does not hit the tax levy, but we amortize the assets, but it goes into the balance sheet as the assets with accumulated amortization. But the actual expense is expensed in full in the year that it is purchased.
Okay.
Anything further?
Yes. The other question is for the representatives that are here from the police board. Has the police board approved this?
Yes, I can tell you that this was the request for 2 vehicles was part of our budget request for West Grey Council to consider.
Okay. And I guess the other concern is, given the review we're doing, I'm wondering if it's appropriate to continue with the purchase at this time or wait for that to occur.
I can respond to that, and I have heard from Chief Rob Martin that this vehicle is needed for the operation of the West Grey Police Service.
Okay, and I'm wondering what a difference, say, a month or 2 would make in that if it was delayed to that level.
All I can tell you is that West Grey Police Chief Martin advised that this purchase is needed for the day-to-day operations of the West Grey Police Service. And I don't see Chief Martin here, so that is the information that I can provide.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we defer this till our next budget meeting on the February 4th, and we invite the board to speak to this to determine if we can actually delay that. Thank you.
All right, we'll wait for Clerk Scharback to read back the motion, and then I will be looking for a seconder. In addition, Clerk Scharback, I am requesting a recorded vote.
Mayor, I have moved by Councillor Townsend that the main motion regarding approval of 50% of the 2021 budget to permit tendering for a police vehicle be deferred to the February 4th, 2022 budget meeting. And there's no seconder at this time.
Yes, Councillor Townsend, is the language appropriate?
Is it allowed to have the invite to the board, or can we do that separately?
Do you mean add to this motion and that the police service board be invited to speak to this matter? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
At the February 4th meeting.
Okay.
So just to recap, if you let me know this wording is correct, Councillor Townsend, that the motion regarding approving a maximum of 50% of the 2021 budget to permit tendering for a police vehicle be deferred to the February 4th, 2022 budget meeting, and that the Police Service Board be invited to speak to this matter at the February 4th, 2022 budget meeting.
That's good, thank you.
Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Shea. I will be speaking to this item, so I'm going to transfer the chair over to because I want to speak a little more fully to it. So I'm going to transfer the,
Point of order, Mayor Robinson.
yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I believe a motion to defer is not debatable.
Oh, right. Yes, thank you for that.
Sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
No, thank you for that. I do appreciate that. Thank you. So Clerk Shebek, I would like a recorded vote on this, please. And thank you very much, Councillor Hamilton.
Point of order.
Yes, Councillor.
I don't think this is a motion to defer. The councillor did use the word defer, but he was asking us to defer this item. The point that Councillor Hamilton refers to is when a motion is being deferred. And there is no motion on the floor being deferred. So I don't believe this is a motion to defer in that sense of the word.
Okay, we'll go to the clerk because I would like clarification of it. I believe through the language it is, but we'll go procedurally to the clerk for this, please.
This is a motion to defer. The Deputy Mayor and Councillor Hutchinson moved and seconded a motion to approve the capital budget up to a maximum of 50% for the 2021 budget to permit tendering for a police vehicle. Yes, and then Councillor Townsend moved that the motion be deferred.
Okay, sorry, I understand. I misunderstood. So I understand now. Thank you.
That's just fine, Councillor Shea. Go ahead, Clerk Shebek.
Through you, Mayor. Councillor Shea, are you seconding?
Yes, I did second it.
So on the motion to defer and invite the Police Services Board to the February 4th budget meeting. I'll go through our list of voters. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, how do you vote?
Not in favor.
Councillor Hamilton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Robinson, how do you vote?
Not in favor.
Councillor Shea, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Hutchinson, how do you vote?
Not in favor.
Councillor Townsend, how do you vote?
In favor.
Councillor Hergert, how do you vote?
Councillor Hergert, yes.
And that motion is carried.
Okay, so now we are moving on to item 11.4 CAO 11.4.1 strategic vision plan update. Clerk Shebek to the recommendation, please.
Through Mayor, the recommendation is that Council receives the report strategic vision plan update for information.
Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Hamilton. Is there a seconder? Councillor Townsend. Questions to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of the motion. The motion is carried. Councillor Hutchinson, you have your electronic hand up?
Yeah, I did have a question, but sorry, you got ahead of me.
Then just speak up next. Please speak up as we, I did not see any hands.
Okay.
We've dealt with it, but what is the quick question?
I'm just wondering with the asset management plan, do we have a policy? I couldn't find a policy regarding an asset management for our asset management plan. Supposedly we make a policy first, and I looked for it. I couldn't find it on the website. Do we have a policy?
Director Mighton, please.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we do have a policy. We that it was taken to council a couple years ago, perhaps. But if it's not on the website, we can certainly get that added there. But we do have one that's in place. And we can get that circulated.
Yeah, I couldn't find any of my stuff, but I wasn't sure where to look. But anyways, yeah, if we can get that up there, that would be good, because we need that before we can go forward, I believe.
We'll ensure that it gets on through Madam CAO and Director Mighton, and we'll alert council that it has been posted.
Yeah.
I do want to move on to item 12. Councillor Townsend, we've already addressed the motion, and it was Councillor Hutchinson that he advised that he had a question. I really don't want to go through additional questions after the motion has been addressed. So perhaps that'll be a question for staff that you can deal.
It's a comment that the policy was passed just before July 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Give him a time frame.
Wonderful. Thank you. Item 12, questions. In accordance with the West Grey procedural bylaw, members may request clarification or updates on previous agenda items. Is there anything, members of council? Item 13 then, bylaws. 13.1, bylaws 09-2022, use of corporate resources during an election policy. Clerk Sharbuck to the recommendation.
Through Mayor, the recommendation is that bylaw 09-2022, being a bylaw to adopt a policy for the use of corporate resources during an election, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
I'll take a mover and seconder with a raised hand, and then I'll address your question, Councillor Hutchinson. Deputy Mayor as the mover, and then I saw Councillor Townsend as the seconder. Councillor Hutchinson, to your question, please.
Yeah, I'm just curious if the time frame is correct on that. There was discussion last election that they were changing the time frame for the election to make it a shorter time period, and it mentions May 1st in here. Is that still correct, or did that get changed?
Clerk Sharbuck, please.
Thank you. Yes, it is still correct. May 1st, this in 2022, I believe, is a Sunday. That's why nomination period opens Monday, July 2nd. So that didn't need to be updated. It will stay the same. And if May 1st lands on a Saturday or Sunday, then it's the first business day after that.
Okay, but the actual, you said the election part of it doesn't start till July 1st. Is that what you said?
Clerk Sharbuck?
I'm not sure what you mean. Nominations open on February 2nd, 2022 at 9 a.m. So that's the first opportunity after that May 1st date in this policy.
Did you say February? You said
and
February.
Then the nominations close. So nominations day is actually August 19th at 2 p.m.
Sorry, can you clarify those dates again? The months? You said February. I'm not sure if that's correct.
I certainly didn't mean to say February, so I apologize. Nominations open May 2nd at 9 a.m. So the dates in the Municipal Election Act have not changed. But this year, May 1st is a Sunday. So for this election, it will be May 2nd at 9 a.m. Nomination day nominations close August 19th at 2 p.m.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, members of council? Does anybody need the motion read again on this bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. This motion is carried. Item 13.2, bylaw 10-2022, confirming the proceedings of council. Clerk Sharbuck to the recommendation, please.
Through you, Mayor, the recommendation is that bylaw 10-2022, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Hergert. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Hamilton. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. The motion is carried. Item 14, new business. There is an NA for this particular agenda. Item 15, announcements. In accordance with the West Grey procedural bylaw, comments are not debatable, nor shall they introduce new business. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes per member. Members of council, are there any announcements? Okay, I did want to mention that at the Rural Ontario Municipal Association's conference, I will get to you, Councillor Townsend, thank you, and any other member. So just this past week, Roma had their conference, and one of the items that was introduced was the opportunities for rural Ontario in a post-COVID world, a plan for action. So this is the document. It's quite extensive and it has a number of recommendations. We'll be bringing this item forward again for awareness of our members of council and the community, and perhaps there's some actions that this council wish to take. For further discussions at the Roma board, of which I'm second vice, so I'll be reporting back on any items of advancement to this council as well. But I just at this point wanted to draw your attention to it. We also had an opportunity at the Roma board, at the Roma board, to meet with Premier Ford and also the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Minister Clark, to speak about housing, as it is a very urgent topic through all of our Ontario municipalities and certainly rural municipalities. More information to come as well through Roma and AMO boards. And I also just want to identify that West Grey Council had 2 delegations at Roma. One was with the parliamentary assistant for, just give me 1 second, I want to get the clarity on this. Thank you for your latitude. I have a huge binder just for Roma, and I do want to mention that we had a delegation that was for PA, which is Parliamentary Assistant, Jim McDonnell, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. We talked about insurance, the 1% rule, joint and several liability, and asset management. There's more action that will be connected with between ministry staff and also through West Grey staff. We also met with Minister Pacini of Environment, Conservation and Parks, and that was a fulsome discussion dealing with landfill and how we can look at a different mindset with respect to landfill first. Both delegations were most productive and really enjoyed the conference. So thank you for your time. Councillor Townsend now, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just going to comment on the quality and the excellence of the Roma conference. I think the committee did an excellent job of bringing the subjects, the presenters, and the discussion. I think was just amazing and timely, because as you mentioned, we did too, and then I mentioned the other one about the Community Schools Alliance. But I think the real thing is we saw an openness, we saw the right topics coming forward, and the virtual, I think, having done them before, made it a lot easier this time. And I just wanted to congratulate Roma on that. I think they did a fantastic job. And there's some things to follow up, as you mentioned, from my perspective and the places I went, but I'll bring them forward as appropriate for having done the follow-up. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And Councillor Townsend, thank you very much for the kind words with regard to the Roma conference. I take that to heart. And I will take that back when I report to the executive. Most appreciated. And yes, based on the activities that we've had at the conference, there's more work for West Grey in a most positive way. Over to you, Councillor Hergert.
Thank you very much. Yes, I attended the Roma conference as well. There is a federal initiative for national infrastructure assessment that is currently underway. So on a very broad scale for all of Canada to assess where our infrastructure is. And I know that West Grey is on top of it with the asset management policy. And Carrie has done a tremendous amount of work on that. So I appreciate all the efforts for all of staff members, but in particular, our director of finance there. There are some changes. This is one of the reasons that I really enjoy going to Roma and as well as the AMO conference. All of the changing legislation that comes forward is brought to us on a wide scale awareness, but also gets into some particulars. So one of the delegations that are not delegations, one of the programs I sat in on was about housing and short-term accommodations, tiny homes. There's actually been changes to the Ontario Building Code. And so we should see those code revisions trickle down through our building and planning departments. But those revisions were just that week that were released to the province, and we are at that conference hearing about it first. So I think the Roma obviously is representing rural area, but it definitely helps give information to council members that is very current and very important that we share that amount amongst our fellow council members. I know the tiny house program has been something that we've been trying to keep a handle on, like keep our thumb on it to see how the changes can affect and how we can actually assist developers in building in our community. So lots of information. Rural change makers was very important, like a young people in our community that can go to a conference, learn leadership skills, come back to our community and take on our challenges in our community with mentors and other resources that typically they don't have. So that's an online application through the Rural Ontario Institute, if anybody's interested in that. And I've shared that information on my Facebook page as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Hergert. I want to ask members of council, is there anyone else that wishes to speak to this item? Item 15, announcements. Councillor Hamilton.
Mayor Robinson, I don't have an announcement, just a request for a 10-minute recess before we go into closed session when it's appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you very much for highlighting that. Appreciate it. Okay, Councillor Shahi, yes, please.
Yes, I just wanted to alert council and the public that in our police board meeting just a few days ago, we had our annual elections, and Mayor Robinson was elected as the new chair for the year going forward. And Doug Townsend is the vice chair. So just for everyone's information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shea, for mentioning that. I also want to mention to members of council and those listening in, the AMO conference that is scheduled for August. Currently, we are as I'm on the AMO board through the Rural Caucus. I just want to alert members of council that we are planning for an in-person conference. That decision will be made, I'm suggesting maybe in March, so please stay tuned for full confirmation of that. I just wanted to alert members of council to that. As information comes forward, I like to provide that information. Okay, I'm not seeing any other member of council that wishes to speak to item 15. So then, I just took a pause there. We will now move on to item 16, closed session. Clerk Scharbeck to the recommendation.
Point of privilege, Mayor Robinson.
Oh, of course. My goodness.
Thank you.
You know,
That's
Councillor
okay.
Hamilton, thank you very, very much for that.
Thank you. I'd like
all right.
to make a motion that we move to recess for 10 minutes, please. Thank you.
I will take that motion. Thank you very much. Clerk Scharbeck, could you please read that back? And I will ask for a seconder, and we'll go with that. So we do have a motion before us. Clerk Scharbeck, please.
Mayor, the motion is that council does now recess for 10 minutes.
Perfect. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Hutchinson, any questions on the motion? All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor. The motion is carried. We'll come back at 10:21. We'll come back in open session, and then at that time, I will look for a motion to go in camera. Please take your audio and video off. Thank you very much. See you back at 10:21. Hi, everyone. It's 10:21. Thank you for the gallery view, and I hope everyone enjoyed their break. So I just want to make sure, first of all, we have all members of council. Oh, yes, we do. Madam CAO, do we have the staff we require?
Yes, Mayor Robinson, I see we do. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we're called back to order, and we're now dealing with item 16, closed session. Clerk Scharback, to the motion at hand, please.
Through you, Mayor Robinson, the recommendation is that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey does now go into a closed session at 10:22 a.m. with the CAO, Director of Administration Clerk, Director of Finance Treasurer, and Legislative Coordinator for the purpose of addressing a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees.
Is there a mover for this motion? Deputy Mayor, is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Hamilton, any questions on the motion at hand? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. The motion is carried. We will now go into a closed session. Okay, I'm just confirming that we have everyone. Madam CIO, while I'm just looking for the members of council, could you also just scan to make sure that we have the staff we require?
Yes, Mayor Robinson, it appears that we do. Thank you.
All right, we do have 6 members of council. Our deputy mayor has indicated that he has lost connection. So we'll see if he does join us as we proceed. But on item 17, report from closed session, I would like to report that in closed session, council addressed matters pertaining to or for the purpose of addressing a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Is there any further motion? Councillor Hergert.
Yes, thank you. I would like to move a motion that we appoint members of the public to our committee appointments.
Okay, Clerk Sharbuck, would you be able to assist with that motion? Read it back and then I'll look for a seconder.
Through you, Mayor Robinson, just to confirm, Councillor Hergert, that the following appointments be made to West Grey committees. Connie McEwen to the Gardens and Green Spaces Advisory Committee, Julie Wilson to the Gardens and Green Spaces Committee, Lauren Smolin to the Gardens and Green Spaces Committee and the Trails Advisory Committee, and Jennifer Hodge Williamson to the Climate Action Advisory Committee.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hergert. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Hutchinson. Okay, clarification to the motion. All those in favor indicate with the raised hand. 6 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. This motion is carried. Item 18, adjournment. Clerk Sharbuck to the recommendation, please.
Mayor Robinson, the recommendation is that we do now adjourn at 11:05 a.m. to meet again on February, actually it will be February 4th, 2022 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the chair.
Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Townsend, is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Hamilton, all those in favor indicate with the raised hand. 6 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. This motion is carried. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.